Championship in the Winston Western 500. It's 500 kilometers, some 311 miles to be run on this 2.6-mile, 9-turn road course. I'm delighted to have with me the three-time national champion, the winner of the Daytona 500 this year, the great Cale Yarborough. Cale, rain has delayed this event by almost an hour. They're going to start the cars as we understand, run them under a yellow flag to continue to dry out the track. But the seriousness of this race and the start, it couldn't be graver now for these competitors with the tremendous speeds they hit here and these water hazards on every turn.
Well, it's really going to be tough, Ken. You know, a road course, you're bound to get off of it every now and then, and it's awful wet off the course, so it's going to be a muddy day, I'm afraid. It's windy and cold and wet, and it's going to be a miserable day for racing.
Well, the wicked witch of the west that blew this rain in had a change of character. Now there's a 25-mile-an-hour breeze that is starching out the flags and making us just about race ready for this $275,000 last race in the $10 million series. At our ST Pit Center today, let's go to Dave Despain.
We're going to be covering the action along Pit Road and also here in the Pit Communication Center. And let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing here. On this board, the top 10 qualified drivers in the race. Down here, we'll be adding a couple of wild cards, the drivers who come up through the field, who become factors. We'll certainly talk a good bit about Tim Richmond, who has one of the fastest cars in this field, but is starting well back in the field, and we'll be explaining that to you. We'll keep track of the laps as they pass here. We'll run you down on what this course is all about. This is the only road course on which these cars race. It's a very difficult mechanical task that the drivers and the crews face here. As that story unfolds, as mechanical attrition plays its part in the decision of the championship and the decision of this race, we'll bring you up to date on those stories from here in the Pit Center. We also have, working with us along Pit Road, 2 pit reporters. Let's go now to the first of those reporters, Jim Roller, for a report on what's happening on the track.
Bobby Allison has been chasing the Grand National title for 23 years. Bobby, delighted at the end of the tunnel has never been brighter than it is today for you. What's going through your mind? Are you thinking about the championship?
Yeah, Gary, I got a copy on you. That radio's working okay.
Best of luck to you, Bobby. Back up to you, Ken Squire.
Set and getting ready for the start of the Winston Western 500 here today. Today, Bobby Allison completes his 20th attempt to win the Grand National Stock Car Championship in the Winston Cup. He has never succeeded at doing that for the last 2 years. The younger man, the outspoken Darrell Waltrip, has outrun Allison for the title in this, the last event of the year. The question today is, will Waltrip do it again? And you'll know the answer on Superstation WTBS with our live flag-to-flag coverage. Consider this, Cale Yarborough. It sounds so easy. Allison has to finish 13th or better, and he's won the championship as we watch Darrell Waltrip, the pole sitter, rolling out. He only has to finish 13th or better, and the last 3 times Bobby Allison has been at the Riverside International Raceway, he has finished 22nd, 16th, and 27th.
Well, it's not easy to finish 13th on a place like Riverside, Ken. This is a tough racetrack to run. Not only can you get in trouble yourself, but other cars can have problems and spin out in front of you, and just all kind of different things can happen here. So Bobby has really got to drive a smart race today if he's going to win this championship today.
Live flag-to-flag coverage on Superstation WTBS. The shootout to decide the Winston Cup for 1983, and there you see the front row. Car number 11, Waltrip, the defending champion, trails by 64 points going into this race. There's only one thing he can do today, Cale, and that's go for it.
That's the only thing he can do, Ken. He has nothing to lose. He's got to lead every lap he can possibly lead to get those 5 points. He's got to win the race if he can possibly win it and hope something happens to Bobby. I've been here, Ken. I've been in both spots. I know there's pressure on Darrell, there's pressure on Bobby, and it's both of them have got their work cut out for him today.
Darrell Waltrip is attempting to do what only one other man in history has ever done, win the Winston Cup 3 successive years. That man, Cale Yarborough. And it is a lot of pressure, and it brought you to the point, Cale, where you elected not to run as many races, hence you are not here today on the track.
Well, it sure did, Ken. You know, we ran for the championship for year after year after year, and I won 3 in a row, and the pressure of this championship. I know what each one of these guys are going through there. You can say there's not much pressure, but the pressure has been on them all year long to win this championship. So it's not very easy. I know what both of them are going through.
NASCAR and track people here have done a remarkable job of getting this track back in condition for this race today. And we have the report now from NASCAR that within a couple of laps, they will know if they're going to turn them loose. The track has dried out well. Here you see the starting front row. Ricky Rudd, who won here in June in the Budweiser race, starts on the outside of the front row. Waltrip, of course, is on the pole, and he must make up 64 points. As we look at the rest of the starting grid, Terry Labonte, who crashed here so savagely a year ago in this race. There's Allison. And remember, at the start, Bobby Allison is well back. Not that far back, but 6. And nobody has ever come from further back than 8 to win this event. As we continue down through Herschel McGriff, who won the Grand American race yesterday on this track in the Warner Hodgson 300. There's Bill Schmidt, twice Western champion. And Tommy Gale is back today. We thought he was going to retire at Atlanta. He came back for one more time out here on this road course. They're now in turn 9, one of the most critical turns anywhere in American motorsport. And here they are coming right by our vantage point where Cale Yarborough and yours truly, Ken Squire, are located at the start-finish line. And you can still see the watermarks on the speedway as number 55, Benny Parsons, is pulling on pit road. Now, these are caution laps that are being run off. There you see the second row. Joe Ruttman, who placed second here a couple of years back, and Terry Labonte, who had just an awful crash in turn 9 1 year ago, slammed head-on into the wall, broke his leg, thought a bit about retirement, but he says not that much, and came back. Incidentally, news story here, Cale Yarborough, who you'll recall at Atlanta drove hurt, as we saw on Superstation WTBS, and did that incredible job in the Hardee's car. We understand you're headed for the hospital. That leg has not come around, Cale.
Well, Ken, it's not coming around like I would like for it to. So, you know, in the very near future, I'm going to have something done about it if it doesn't start healing up very shortly. But it still gives me a lot of trouble.
Well, I'm sure all your supporters across the country will be sending some mail to Timmonsville if you decide to go back in the crash house for a while. Car number 11, Waltrip, the pressure really on today. Now, he's led the last 2 years coming in here, but he's a fighter, and he is up on the point. He established a new record in qualifying at 116.782 miles per hour, a new record for this 2.6-mile course. Again, here's Dave Despain.
The Winston Cup Championship is decided on the only road race course these cars contest. They are stock cars. They are oval track racers 28 times a year. Twice a year they come to Riverside and do battle on a 2.6-mile twisting course that is an absolute torture test for car and driver. Let's take a look at how it works. Start-finish line here. That's where they'll take the green flag. We don't know at this moment when they will take the green flag. They move from there down into this difficult area called the S's. This is alien territory for stock cars. It's a succession of left and right-hand turns, and they just don't turn that way anywhere but here at Riverside. You're going to see a lot of people try to make a straight line out of this. You'll see a lot of people running in the mud on this part of the racetrack. They are trying to get successfully to the entrance to turn 6. Again, a right-hand turn, a hard, tight right, and it's another difficult stock car maneuver. Moreover, this is a dangerous place. It was the last corner in the life of the great Joe Weatherly, who was killed here in 1964. From turn 6, a short sprint up this straightaway to turn 8. Again, very difficult. In fact, the toughest turn on the track. This is a courage corner. It is banked the wrong direction. That means that the car is thrown out of kilter 119 times every lap around turn 8. The guy who can hammer the throttle right here gets the momentum for the long run down this backstretch. That's a 170-mile-an-hour stretch, and if you've got a car length advantage here, you can stretch that because you've got that momentum to 8, perhaps 10 car lengths as you come down to here. Turn 9, the hardest braking point on the racetrack, from 170 miles an hour down to about 100 miles an hour to negotiate this area. The car groans and shudders and complains, and if you miss the mark by just a little bit, you're going to go hard into the retaining wall. It was here last year that Terry Labonte suffered the worst crash of his career just 1 year ago today. Around turn 9 to start finish, our STP Pit Communications Center is located right here on this side of the track, high above Riverside International Raceway, anchor booth, and our post today for our Ken Squire and Cale Yarborough.
The word is that in 2 laps, they will turn them loose. That in 2 laps, the Winston Western 500 will see a green flag, and we will be underway in the deciding race in this $10 million tour. There you see Ricky Rudd pull up alongside, out of turn 6, headed down toward turn 8. 2 of the cars in this race have onboard live cameras to give you the grip and the feel. And you're riding with a man who is going to start well back, and what a ride he's going to give you. This is Tim Richmond's car, number 26. Richmond starting out back. He'll have to fight his way up through the field. Richmond had qualified second fastest, but he blew his engine on the first day, had problems with the car. And so now Richmond is relegated because he did not make the first day qualifying to the 26th starting position. And what a charge he's going to be making. The other camera live on board will be with car number 33, the Skoal Bandit. Harry Gant will be at the controls of that car. Harry Gant has qualified well. He is in that 7th starting position in the Skoal Bandit for today's race. Now they're on that long back straightaway. It seems ageless and endless as you're running. But when you're under full speed, that thing goes by in just a matter of seconds. And then you're into turn number 9. We'll be back for the start of the Winston Western 500 in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. The race to decide the championship for 1983 live on Superstation WTBS. 42 starters all lined up. $275,000 at stake as prestigious race to win and the national title here as well. Ricky Rudd in the number 3, the Piedmont Airlines car on the inside. And there is Darrell Waltrip sitting on the pole. Has to win, must win situation for the defending champion of NASCAR. Here they are into that sweeper. A savage, nasty turn. Was here just a few months back that Rolf Stallman and lost his life in a Porsche car. Here they are out of turn number 9, coming down for the green. 9 coming down for the green flag. Harold Kinder has it in hand. And now Jerry Long of R.J. Reynolds drops the green flag, and we are underway. On the break, Ruttman in a 3rd. Ruttman loves this track. You must stay on the asphalt. If you get off, it will trap you like quicksand today. Field is away. Number 11, Waltrip in front. Rudd from the outside in 2nd position. And you're with Tim Richmond as he comes out of 25th position, snarling, grinding, fighting his way. He's just gone by Morgan Shepherd. He's up to 24th. He's going after Donnie Allison in the number 88. You're live in Tim Richmond's car as he hurdles up into turn 6. Meanwhile, the leaders are approaching turn 8. Waltrip in front. In the 2nd position, right behind him comes Ricky Rudd. And now in 3rd is Ruttman. And in 4th is Labonte. Down they go in the back straightaway. Coming to full speed, Waltrip in the lead. Up to 170, 175 miles per hour. And then into that turn where you just don't want to let go. You just have to just ease that car. And now you're back once again with our live onboard camera. Going down beneath the bridge, this camera should take a hit right about here. You're with Tim Richmond as he goes by, still another car, approaching turn 9 and pulls himself up into the 23rd position. Here he is around turn 9. This is what it looks like. Correction, you're in the Skoal Bandit car. You're running in 6th place right now. That's Harry Gant, number 33. The Skoal Bandit car of Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham. Right up there in the front of the hunt. They've had some oil pickup problems on that car. But there you see Harry Gant fighting his way through this field. Looking around out of the side of the car, out of the back of his machine as we go back to the leader, and Ricky Rudd, relentless in his last ride in car number 3. A lot of driver changes at the end of the year. And here they come another time. Down into turn 8. Waltrip on the point. He's won here twice. There's Joe Ruttman still there. Labonte still lying 4th. Front 4 all together. Lead automobiles all together. Back straightaway, 2nd lap. As they wheel down for 118 laps. It is car number 11, Waltrip, in the position he must be in. And remember, Allison can win the championship if he finishes 13th. But the story here is the last 3 times he has finished no better than 16th, 22nd, 16th, and 27th. coming out of turn 9, right to the wall at over 100 miles per hour. The wrong way around a half-mile track, Cale.
Well, it sure is, Ken. But you know, Bobby Allison is running a harder race than I thought he was going to run. He is right in behind Darrell Waldrop in those first few cars and staying there. He's not backing off any. So
there he is right there.
Right. Bobby's going to make a run for it, I guess.
So Allison has pulled up. Now you're back inside, I believe, Gant's car another time, the Skoal Bandit. There's the leader. Car number 11.
The racetrack looks like it's in real good condition now, Ken. It's dried off, but the problem's going to be when somebody has trouble and has to get off of the racetrack. It's mighty wet out there.
Car number 11, Waltrip. He has won 6 races this year. Allison has won 6 races this year. When he won the championship the last 2 years, Waltrip was able to sustain a drive that saw him win 12 events. Back straight away another time. A waiting game as Waltrip really rushes the field, staying out in front. Now he's collected 5 points for leading a lap. Remember that back in 5th place is Bobby Allison. If he can stay and sustain there, he will win the championship after trying for 20 years. 5 times Allison has finished as the runner-up in the championship. This year, after a bad time at Daytona Beach, he came back and won Richmond, Virginia at the Richmond Fairgrounds on that famous half-mile track. And now he is still holding on. There's Stevie Waltrip checking the board, taking a careful look at how her husband Darrell Waltrip is doing and checking those positions back. And the positions right now show Labonte 4th, Allison 5th, Gant 6th. Dale Earnhardt is up to 7th. Richard Petty is in 8th. Then in 9th is Bill Elliott, and 10th is West Coast driver Jim Bound, driving for his dad. Jim Bound, the brother of Chuck Bound, the former Winston Western champion, and now one of the runners on the Stroh's Tour in the northeastern part of the United States. That Bound is the first West Coast driver, and there is a Western Series, and it is a combination of those 2 series that give us this great race. 3 laps complete. Waltrip is in front, as you see here, on the leaderboard. The Winston Western 500 has Ricky Rudd in 2nd, Joe Ruttman 3rd, Labonte 4th, and then Allison. Here is Waltrip in the 4th lap, and everyone is playing a pretty pat hand, Cale.
Well, they sure are. Everybody's pretty well got them a spot and holding it right now, Ken. I think this is maybe because the racetrack is still a little bit damp and they aren't taking any chances until they run a little while and make sure that they can make a move on the racetrack and still be safe.
Jim Bound, the 10th place car, has just pitted and come back out. Darrell Waltrip is in front. Can he stay there? Continuing live coverage of the Western 500, brought to you in part by Old Milwaukee Beer and Old Milwaukee Light, 2 of America's great tasting beers. It doesn't get any better than this. There you see Darrell Waltrip in front, battling for the Winston Cup, worth some $500,000 to a driver if he takes that championship. Right behind him is Ricky Rudd, trying to make it 2 in a row at Riverside. He won here back in June in the Budweiser 400-kilometer race. And there you are in turn number 9. Waltrip just so smooth and easy through there.
Well, it really is, Ken, but Ricky Rudd is putting a move on Darrell right now. The lap before, he got right up by him going through turn number 1, and Ricky is sticking right with him.
See an anxious Junior Johnson looking on there. Junior Johnson, who's brought this car out, brought Waltrip to the title for the last 2 years and had a little to do with Cale Yarborough winning a few championships too. Now you're back with Tim Richmond in the old Milwaukee car. Richmond is fighting with Roy Smith as he charges through, and he's taken Smith out. He is on a charge. He's just gone by Buddy Baker, and he is up to 9th position. What a run by Richmond from 26th starting spot. Going through the S's, Tim Richmond back with the leaders another time. Lead car number 11. In the Winston Western 500, we now have completed 6 of the 118 laps that mark the distance. And since the beginning, Waltrip won in front. Now, just past the start-finish line, a lap ago, while we're in commercial, Ricky Rudd took a shot to go by at a place where you don't usually pass, but it looks like he's got some extra horses in that Richard Childress car.
Well, he started tried to get by him going in turn number 1, Ken, but had to back off. But what Darrell is trying to do is not let anybody pass. He needs to lead the most laps in this race and be assured of that 5 points for leading the most laps.
So Waltrip is going to stay out there and try to stay in front as long as he can. We asked Darrell Waltrip earlier, what about rain changing the track conditions here at Riverside? This is what he said.
The track will be different. All the rubber's been washed off of it. There's been a lot of water to run across the racetrack, and it'll be a little more treacherous than it was for a while. The big factor now is you cannot go off the course and expect to get back on. The factor now will be if you miss a turn up here somewhere and you get out in that mud, you're going to be there for a while. It'd be almost impossible for a tow truck to get you out of there. So now you really got to be careful not to go off the course, and that makes it harder.
Waltrip in the lead. Winner here in 1979 and 1980. It's all on the line for him today, and Allison must feel every vibration and every quake augmented about tenfold from the usual race worries one would have, because if anything begins to shake, rattle, or roll on that number 22 car, he's got big problems in the championship.
Well, I'm sure he's feeling everything that's happening, Ken. But, you know, Bob is running harder than I thought he was going to run in this race. He's really pouring the coal on that car.
Now you see Tim Richmond going into that long back straightaway, shifting into high. Here he comes down for the bridge, up to 170 miles. He went into third, now into high. Here he comes down this little hill, about a 5% grade, headed for the bridge. He's headed for turn 9. He's looking for somebody to race with. I believe the man directly in front of him now is Bill Elliott, and Elliott has him covered by about 3 seconds. Here he comes into turn 9. Describe that feeling for us, Cale.
Well, that's a tough turn, Ken. You come down that enter that turn, you know, it faces you at about 170 miles an hour, and you know you got to back off and get through that corner.
You're back with the Skull Bandit. Harry Gant, the Hal Needham Burt Reynolds car. The number 33 of Gant is currently in 6th position. Bobby Allison is in 5th. And right behind him comes Harry Gant, and you can be sure that Harry wants to win today. They've had just an awful season.
Well, they sure have. That Skull Bandit crew has worked awful hard. They've just had a lot of bad luck, Ken. This is one of the better teams on the circuit.
Certainly is.
They've just had a lot of bad luck, but Harry Gant has done a good job with that Skull Bandit car this year, and Harry's a good road racer too, so you can keep your eye on him today.
Travis Carter crew. Here's a report from the STP Pit Center. Here's Dave Despain.
From the STP Pit Communication Center, let's bring you up to date on a couple of stories. Benny Parsons, scheduled to start 5th, problem with the engine, started dead last. He's come through the field and is now running 18th. Tires are a big story. Jim Bound has had a flat. Kyle Petty has had a flat. Tires cost Bobby Allison the championship here last year. Allison stripped a lug nut on a pit stop, couldn't get the tire off, had to go out and run that tire until it blew, and that cost him the title. Now, as we work on lap 10 of this race, we have a report of an unscheduled pit stop coming. The leader is coming to the pits. The leader is coming to the pits. Let's try to get a further report on that.
And it's not the leader, of course. It is Allison who's come in. From Dave Despain's vantage point, he couldn't see him pulling out of pit road, number 22. Allison, the 5th place car, is in, and they're changing rubber and sending him back out, and he's falling back in the field.
Well, he had to have a flat tire. They changed the right side, and evidently there's a lot of debris on the racetrack that probably the water has washed onto the racetrack, and that's a pretty tough break for Bobby this early in the race.
A lot of stones, a lot of rocks that get washed up and pulled up through. Maybe something went wrong with the tire, but Allison has fallen back. Now we're going to check his position for you and tell you where he is in the race. Waltrip continues his drive in 1st, with Ricky Rudd 2nd, Joe Ruttman 3rd, Terry Labonte 4th. And Allison has fallen to 19th place. Bobby Allison is back in the 19th position at this time. Now that would put him out of it. Let's go to Jim Roller. We have an audio problem. He is talking, of course, to Gary Nelson, the crew chief, and we'll try to get back with Jim Roller in just a moment to get that report from Jim Roller as to what exactly happened on Allison's car. We know it was a tire change. As to what the circumstances were, we'll try to update you in a moment. Car number 98 now coming in is Joe Ruttman. That was the car that had been running in the 3rd position, and the leaders are all beginning to have problems with tires because of this strange track condition, Cale.
Well, they are, Ken, but Joe Ruttman's got his hood up, so he's got more than tire problems.
Oh, what a bad break for Joe Ruttman. Finished 2nd here, still looking for his 1st Grand National win. one of the nice people, came off the USAC circuit, moved up onto the NASCAR Winston Cup Tour. Bad break for him. And there are the leaders. I wonder if those early stops by Ruttman and by Allison are harbingers of things to come for all of them out here today.
Well, it could be, Ken, but Ricky Rudd is hanging right in there with Waldrop, and Waldrop is still trying to lead every possible lap that he can.
Labonte now goes to third. Gant moves to fourth. Up to fifth moves Earnhardt. Into sixth goes Petty. Into seventh, Elliott. And from 26 has come Tim Richmond, and he is dramatically closing. Richmond trying to close it up on Bill Elliott. The interval stays about 3 seconds between them. There are the leaders. And there is Richmond, and you can see up in front of it, there's a lap car in between. Bill Elliott, who he's focusing on in the Ford Thunderbird. And here's Harry Gant. And Harry Gant is right up behind the car of Terry Labonte. That's Labonte running directly in front of the Skull Bandit. Richard Petty is in. Another of the leaders having tire problems here. The sixth place car, the 1969 and 72 winner of the event, Richard Petty, 7-time national champion, in for an unscheduled stop, and he's back on the track. Cale, what do you think?
There's got to be debris on the racetrack, Ken. You know, there are a lot of valleys in this racetrack, and when it rains here and the water just flows over the racetrack a lot of places, and evidently there's rocks and just all kind of debris on the racetrack.
Bobby Allison is in another time. He will fall further back in this incredible development as you watch it live on Superstation WTBS from Riverside, California. The grand finale to the $10 million tour. Here comes Allison out. Let's go to Dave Despain.
Just 2 laps into this 119-mile battle. Bobby Allison, just 12 laps in. Bobby Allison has been in twice. Let's find out what's going on the car that started in 6th place. Jerry Garrett, you've been in the Allison pit.
Well, Dave, Gary Nelson, Allison's crew chief, said the first pit stop was for a slow leak in the right rear tire. Now, since then he's come in again, he's got a vibration problem they're trying to track down. Gary says that the track is very green and they're picking up all kinds of strange debris out there.
Jerry Garrett is our roving reporter in the pits. He'll be with us all day. The story right now, for the 2nd year in a row, as Allison tries to win the championship at Riverside, he is plagued with tire problems. Back to you, Ken.
So Bobby Allison is falling further back. He was in 17th. He is now out of the top 20. Joe Ruttman is back on the track, but running with a sour engine, very slowly by us this time. Leader coming by as we have completed 12 laps, 107 remaining. The leader remains. Car number 11. Is Waltrip going to do it? Is he going to win his 3rd championship? Remember, he must win, and in one of the circumstances, Allison has to be 13th or worse in the field. So far, nothing amiss on that car that continues to lead. Darrell Waltrip, twice a winner, trying to win it for the 3rd time and the most important time in his career. The Winston Western 500 will continue on Superstation WTBS. At Riverside International Raceway, just the most remarkable circumstances. Bobby Allison has had to pit twice in the early going. There you're watching the battle further back for 3rd spot. 44 Labonte is in 3rd. Harry Gant is in 4th, and directly behind him as they head for turn 8 is the car number 15, the Bud Moore car. There you see it up to turn 8. There's the 44, the 33, and the 15, and they are fighting for 3, 4, and 5 on the field. There's the 3rd place car, Terry Labonte. Right behind him comes the Skull Bandit with Harry Gant, and then comes that Bud Moore Ford Thunderbird, which has gone to victory twice this season. Terry Labonte carrying those red and white colors for the final time. Goes down under the bridge and into turn 9.
Again, there are a lot of final things happening today. A lot of history is going to be made here today. Richard Petty is running his last time for Petty Enterprises, and Terry Labonte will be changing sponsors. A lot of different things are going to be happening. 2nd place car comes on pit road. Car number 3, Ricky Rudd, running in 2nd place, has just pulled in, and here's Harry Gant chasing car number 44 down across the line, and they go back into turn number 1. You're with the Bandit, Harry Gant, and you see that red car in front of him as they go into the S's. Whoa, off on the right side, coming back into the left side of the track. Here is car number 3. Got to be another tire problem.
Another tire problem. That is the 2nd place car, but the leader thus far has nary been plagued by anything. He just stays out there and continues to keep running. Now there's car number 3. He just pitted and has come back out. We have 2 cars out. Jimmy Insolo has retired from the race, and 2-time Western champion Bill Schmidt. We saw him running very slowly in his car number 73. Those green and white colors have been retired. There's the number 11. There your leader. And that is Darrell Waltrip, who stays up in front. Waltrip with the lead. In that second spot now, Terry Labonte, and in third is Harry Gant. Ricky Rudd falling back, having pitted. Ricky Rudd has fallen back. Terry Labonte goes up into second. Harry Gant goes to third. Dale Earnhardt is in fourth. Bill Elliott is in fifth, and Tim Richmond is in sixth, with Roy Smith in the 7th position, Benny Parsons in 8th, and Buddy Baker in 9th.
Ken, Benny Parsons has moved up through the field real good, too. He started absolutely last in that Copenhagen car, and he's really coming on strong.
Bobby Allison has his work cut out. The latest report was that he was running in the 27th position. He's got a lot of running to do. He needs a 13th or better. Of course, the attrition will help him some. That'll continue to build it up here. Waltrip has already collected 5 points for leading a lap. And there's another bonus of 5 points if he leads the most laps. Those are the only bonuses given. Number 55, Benny Parsons. He has just pitted. Benny Parsons, another factor here in this race, had pitted early, and he is in a second time. Laps, well, we're showing 16 laps complete here today in the Winston Western 500, coming to you from Riverside, California, live on Superstation WTBS, watching car number 11, Waltrip, continue to reel off lap after lap with seemingly no problem on the car. Number 11, there is Waltrip out of turn 9, moving in on some back markers as he comes to the stripe. He's about to lap J.D. McDuffie. He moves up on Bill Bound as well in the 93 as the skirmish continues to decide who will win the Winston Cup this year. It'll be given at the Waldorf Astoria in New York, a couple of weeks away. It has been Darrell Waltrip the last 2 years the recipient. Bobby Allison fighting again to put it back together. Joe Ruttman's number 98 has gone behind the wall. Work on Ruttman's car will go on behind the wall, or he may be terminal in the event, in which case he would be the 3rd car to retire. Now there's Tim Richmond's car. You're inside of the old Milwaukee, number 27, the Blue Max. And he's up on a lap car and trying to move through. Tim Richmond headed for turn 6, up through the S's. Dramatic pictures from Richmond's car. Car number 11 still in front. Waltrip, when he needs it. It looks like the luck goes with him. Will it stay there? Of course, he had just terrible misfortune, as you saw on WTBS with our live coverage in Atlanta. That was not his day. The car didn't work all day, Cale.
Well, it sure didn't, Ken, but this race is real young yet. Anything can happen. Bob is maybe having his problems early. Waltrip might have his late. You never can tell.
Now here's Waltrip in the 11, skirting turn number 9, having completed 18 laps, 101 to go. And as matters stand, he would come from behind in the last race of the year and take the title. There's the leaderboard as it currently stands. And there has been one change. Ricky Rudd's car has dropped back. Ricky Rudd pitted and is no longer the 2nd position car on the field. That is moved into 2nd, the Terry Labonte car. Gant is in 3rd, Earnhardt is in 4th, Richmond is currently in the 5th place. Here's your leader. Out of turn 6, that short straightaway, about what, 110 miles an hour through there, Cale?
About 110, and then you have to slow way down to get through that turn 8 and back down that long, fast backstretch.
Well, he has nothing to lose. All he has to do is stand on it today.
Well, he's going for broke.
Let's go to Dave Despain.
We have 19 laps in and 100 laps to go. Let's review what's happened to a couple of our front runners here. Joe Ruttman, the hometown favorite, started 4th, has just dropped out of this race. He was having carburetor problems. That's a whole new team. They thought it might gel in the last race of the year. It didn't happen. Benny Parsons is still very much on the charge. But one of the stories we really need to follow today is down here at the other end of the board as we look at one of our wild card picks, and that is Tim Richmond. The reason he started in 26th spot is that he blew an engine in first day qualifying. That car, which carries our onboard camera, is the second fastest car in the field. But because Richmond qualified on the second day, he had to start in 26th position. He has picked off 20 drivers in the early running. The report on Bill Schmidt is that the engine has blown in that car. Bill Schmidt is involved in the battle for the Winston West Championship among the West Coast stock car drivers. He was very much in the thick of that point battle. He has blown an engine, and Bill Schmidt has just walked into our STP Pit Communications Center. Bill, we'd like to meet under different circumstances. What happened?
Well, our motor just finally let go, and we've been having a problem all weekend since we've been here, and we were really kind of looking forward to this race because we had a crack at this championship out here. But it kind of knocks us out of that now, but I guess all you can say is, well, we'll try her again next time.
Better luck next time. Any chance at all of pulling out that title, do you think?
No, I think Jim Robinson pretty well got her cinched up now.
Jim Robinson is going to be the benefactor. Bill Schmidt suffering a blown engine here in the Western 500. Ken?
And he was talking about the Winston West standings there. There is a series on the West Coast, of which there is one race after this. That is in Phoenix, Arizona. And Schmidt has been right up in the hunt along with Robinson through most of the season. Well, the field now, there you see an anxious Junior Johnson. You drove for him for a long time. What's he like to drive for when the pressure is on like it is today?
Well, he's just stays just about like you see him there now, Ken. He's easygoing, calm, and lets everything fall where it will. He's not a man to put a lot of pressure on you. He gives you the equipment to do it with and let you go out and do your own job.
Now, if you're just joining us, the race was delayed approximately 1 hour in its start with our live flag-to-flag coverage. And Bill Schmidt, that we were just talking about a moment ago, he is fourth in those Winston West standings, we're being told. Jim Robinson first, Jim Bound second, Herschel McGriff third. The delay, because of rain, has caused problems for a lot of cars here. There's been a lot of pickup on these tires that have no tread, and it is bringing some rocks and stones onto them, and they're cutting tires down, as they say. There's your leader, Darrell Waltrip, in command of the race. Here he is, moving down through another time past some lap cars. Tim Richmond has passed Bill Elliott, and he just motored by him, and he took over in 5th place. Richmond is up to 5th, and he's closing on Dale Earnhardt in the 4th place Ford Thunderbird. Gant 3rd, Terry Labonte 2nd, and Darrell Waltrip, here he is, back at turn 9, another time, commanding the Winston Western 500, and looking just terrific. Right behind him, one of the West Coast drivers, bound at number 93. Can Waltrip stay there for the day? We'll know shortly. Stay with us for our live coverage on WTBS. Well, there you see the standings in the Winston Western 500 taking place here at Riverside, California. Waltrip is in front, Terry Labonte in second. Thus far, no cautions in the race. They're running at a record speed on what they call a green track. With me is the two-time winner of this event, the three-time national champion, the great Cale Yarborough. Your thoughts about Waltrip out here and what used to be your ride?
Well, I drove a lot of laps around here in that number 11 car, Ken, but Darrell is doing a good job. You know what really has surprised me, that nobody has been off of this racetrack as of yet, and the racetrack was still wet when the race started, but everybody is really doing a fine job, and Darrell's holding on there. Bobby looks like he's picked up the pace just a little bit, but Tim Richmond looks like he's running everybody down. Richmond is just flying, and one of our onboard cameras, of course, is with him. Allison is back to 20th position. Now, for Bobby Allison to beat Darrell Waltrip, for Allison to win the title for the first time in his career, regardless of what Waltrip does in today's race, he must finish in the top 13. Allison leads Waltrip by 64 points coming into today's race, and the lucky number for Allison is 13. By finishing 13th or better here today, Allison locks up that much-pursued, most lucrative title. Allison can improve his chances even more by running up front. Now, should he be able to lead the race for even one lap, he'll pick up a 5-point bonus, and he can clinch the title then with a 15th place finish. Now, there is an additional bonus for leading the most laps in today's event, and right now the man who's working on it and hard at it is Darrell Waltrip. But should Allison, should circumstances change here, be able to accomplish that, pick up the 5 bonus points for leading the most laps, then he would only have to finish 17th. He can't do that. He's back in 20th, just fighting to get back up in the top 13 at this point.
1 point. Waltrip continues to stay in front. Now for this man, Darrell Waltrip. 1 point. Darrell Waltrip The only chance he has of overtaking Allison in that season-long battle for the Winston Cup, he needs to lead the most laps today and win the event. Doing so, Waltrip would come up with 185 points. Allison would have to finish 14th or worse without even leading a lap, and he hasn't led a lap. Now, should such a 14th place finish happen for Allison, he would earn 121 points to tie Waltrip. And in case of a tie, you go back to the number of wins. They're both tied at 6 wins. So then you go back to second place.
I don't know where you go from there,
you
kid.
go to
it's
second,
complicated.
Second place, Cale, and Waltrip would win it because he has 8 second places and Bobby only has 5.
I don't feel like it's going to be determined that way today anyway. I feel like that something has got to happen in this race to either Darrell's going to win it or Bobby's going to win it. I don't believe it's going to be any time.
24 laps are complete, and the point that Cale Yarborough made, don't you, about the fact that everybody has run well. We've had Insolo, Bill Schmidt, Joe Ruttman is now reported as out of the race, and Johnny Krebs is out. The story here is that everyone is being very careful, very conservative, although they're running just as fast as they dare.
Well, they sure are, Ken. Nobody, to my knowledge, has even been off of the racetrack, and you know it's hard to believe that we've run this many laps with no incidents whatsoever.
Bobby Allison is closing up on car number 2, Morgan Shepherd. He is pulling up on Shepherd. Shepherd has been in for a while. Here's Tim Richmond. Now that you're riding right now with Tim Richmond, the 5th place car, and he's headhunting. He's looking for Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt's won 2 races this year. And Earnhardt is up there lurking about 4 seconds in front of Tim Richmond. He is coming, the old Milwaukee car, from 26th spot. Now look at him go through that corner. He is a wild man. A lot of people say that he is the next Cale Yarborough, that he is the kind of driver who you in your early years, nothing would stop you. You'd go through anything to take a race.
Well, he's doing a good job. Tim gets around this racetrack very well. There are a lot of good road racers out here, and Tim is doing a fantastic job today. He's coming up strong, and he's going to be a contender before the day's over.
Donnie Allison is about to be lapped in the 88 car by Darrell Waltrip. There you see the Jim-bound car, the 93 car. They're in the back straightaway. Here's Waltrip down on the inside, hustling, hurdling, 3,700 pounds of metal, full song down into turn 9. He's pulled up behind Donnie Allison, who's made a comeback driving for Cliff Stewart in the last 2 races of the year in that car, number 88. And there's Waltrip shooting down beneath him as he goes into turn number 9. He really wants to lead the most laps, doesn't he?
Well, he sure does. That could mean the championship, and he's in a position to lead the most if nothing happens to him now. So he's not backing off any. He's going all out for that most laps led.
Now you're with Harry Gant. You're in the Skull Bandit. That car is running in 3rd place at the present time. Waltrip first, Labonte second. You're with Harry Gant. And there he is. There you see Terry Labonte just in front of him in the red car. That's the battle for 2nd position. Here they are by the start-finish line, by our location, going into turn number 1. Harry Gant settles in, heads for the S's, pulls up on Terry Labonte. Incredible pictures as they rocket through, and you're watching it live today here on Superstation WTBS, back inside of the old Milwaukee car with Tim Richmond. And remember that Richmond is running in the 5th position, looking for Earnhardt. Meanwhile, late report from scoring, Bobby Allison up to 16th, the 1975 and 81 winner of this event. There were 2 races in 81 on this track, and he won them both. Allison is up to 16th. There's the leader, Waltrip, having no problems, floating, cruising. When you look good, it's that old country song line, when you're hot, and right now that number 11 couldn't be running better.
Right now he's red hot. Nobody's even around him. He's got the racetrack almost to himself, and he's just got it hung out there and just staying there.
Now there's Bobby Allison. You're looking at car number 22, the white and red car, running in the 16th position. In front of him is Herschel McGriff as he tries to close in through there. Allison is moving up. He's trying to get back into it. You see Benny Parsons just in front of him. I believe that Benny
just passed
him back. They swapped
Bobby
back
Allison.
and forth. You've got a fight there, and Benny Parsons, who was just behind Allison, has just closed and taken the spot. That puts Allison back to 17th, moves Benny Parsons into 16th, Herschel McGriff 15th on the field. They're fighting out back in this race. Waltrip, Labonte, Gant are the front 3. There's Bobby Allison. and Benny Parsons, the 1973 national champion. Benny Parsons, 1975 Daytona 500-mile winner. Winner of 19 Grand National races. Here he is in the back straightaway. These very difficult turns and all this shifting. We asked Bobby Allison what part of the track that he liked most out here to run that car number 22 through.
Well, probably the S's are quite different from anything else that we have. That, I guess, the shifting, what you do all the way around the racetrack, is different from what we normally do. So that kind of has my interest.
Number 22, Bobby Allison, continuing to try to run this field back down. Allison floating around this track looking for car number 55. Benny Parsons just barely in front of him. Here they are, headed up through the S's into turn 6, bouncing off those curbs. It would look like those curbs would just tear those cars apart.
Well, it gets pretty rough on them, Ken. They're really little cement barriers there, and you run across them, and it really shakes the cars apart, and sometimes you do have problems.
Number 33 is in.
Harrogate Skull Bandit in the pits.
Now that's the car that is running in the 3rd position. The Skull Bandit is in. See him doing a little wiping job on the old windshield there.
Yeah, they clean his windshield so we can see. Harris making a 4-tire change.
Third place car.
This could be a regular pit stop.
Indeed, it's that far up. We are now showing 28 laps complete. 28 laps down. That gets us 118 miles in, so that's when they should be pitting. And we ought to see Waltrip come in right off.
Waltrip's got to be coming in shortly. 118 miles, that's a long ways on a fuel stop anyway.
Now there's Allison. He's been getting better range out of that car all season long in that number 22 than anyone else on the tour, we believe. Let's see what he'll do with that. But the leaders should be getting ready to pit, and that would mean that Waltrip and LaMounty will be coming in.
Benny Parsons in that Copenhagen car is really stretching Bobby out now, so Benny's running real well.
Jackson Brothers preparation, Johnny Hayes' car. And there's your leader, number 11, Waltrip. Can you believe it? That kind of story that's gone on and on for 3 years looks like it's going to be somewhat similar this year. Well, here is Allison now being shown out of it as they begin to make pit stops. As some of the leaders begin to make pit stops, here's Earnhardt coming in. This crowds the field up. It moves into 13th Parsons, into 14th Allison, so he's still a spot out. Now you're watching Dale Earnhardt.
Dale's making his last ride in that Bud Moore Wrangler number 15 too, Ken. He'll be moving on next year to another car.
And still the leader. There you see him, Darrell Waltrip. A remarkable success story, but this year, a terrible crash in Daytona Beach, slamming that inside barrier coming out of turn number 4, and then the car being spun back into traffic right in front of Harry Gant that day, and Cale Yarborough. You were pretty close to it.
I was too close.
They gave the replay out of your in-car camera. It looked like you cleared that spinning car of Darrell Waltrip by just about 6 inches.
It sure was close, Ken. That's mighty close at the speeds that we're running to.
Well, here's Waltrip today, hoping that he has no misfortune. And, of course, the Allison fans saying we don't want anything to happen to him personally, but if something should malfunction on that car, that'd be just fine with us. I was sitting with, a year ago at this race, with Junior Johnson's wife, Flossie, when it got down to the end. And as you recall, Allison's car broke in the latter moments. And I will never forget Flossie Johnson in tears, absolutely shaken. She said, we wanted to beat Bobby, but we wanted to beat him on the track. We didn't want it to finish like this. Grand lady.
She sure is.
Junior Johnson didn't feel that way.
You take it anywhere you get it, I guess.
Well, there's the leader, Waltrip, up into turn number 6. He has already picked up 5 points. Credit him with 5 points. 4, leading a lap. Now he is working on leading the most laps in the event, and he is doing a Methodist job of it at the present time. The Winston Western 500 will continue live on Superstation WTBS, so stay with us. Continuing live coverage of the Western 500 is brought to you in part by Noxzema Medicated Shave Cream. share the softness. Noxema, a new leader. Beginning of regular pit stops here in the Winston Western 500, and there's 27 down the inside. Tim Richmond going for the lead. Tim Richmond passing Richard Petty in a battle for first place. Richmond, you just saw him sneak down the inside. He's come all the way from 26 to go out in front with that old Milwaukee car, and he surges across the line. You're riding with Tim Richmond right now as he throttles up into the S's another time. Richmond has just passed Richard Petty, and the reason is that the regular pit stops have begun. Waltrip has pitted. He has come back on the track. He is shown in third behind those two leaders who have yet to pit. You can hear that engine just soaring in car number 27. How many RPMs does that 27 turn out there, Cale?
He's probably turning that, oh, and he's into the wall. Tim Richmond's into the wall.
Richmond sliding, trying to pick it up. Petty is retaking the lead. There goes Waltrip into second. Richmond falls to third.
He got in that turn 6 just a little too hard, and he got away from it.
Well, he's getting ready, and the tires and tubes are doing fine, but the air is showing through, as the old Hank Williams song goes. He ought to be in for new rubber shortly.
But he didn't do any damage. You could see the left side of his car, and he didn't hit the wall, so he'll be okay.
Richard Petty is leading, number 43. There you see Richmond in the maroon car, back to third spot. Richard Petty shown in first. Waltrip into second. Richmond in third. Caution is on the track. Yellow is coming out for the first time. Not sure of the rationale for it, but there's the NASCAR officials believe they need a caution. And boy, I'll tell you, on today's race, you really want to be on your toes when you see those lights go on up at turn 6 and going down into turn 9.
Well, you sure can. Now, that's going to put Bobby Allison in good shape.
Petty is pitting. Petty pits. 11 and 27 stay out. There's Richard Petty's crew. What a story here, Cale. Would you believe it? The last time we'll see Richard Petty racing for Petty Engineering.
Well, he'll still be in the same car, in the same color, and the same number and all, but it won't be the same. That Petty Enterprises have been around for a long time, Ken, and I'm sure that this is a sad day for Richard Petty.
I'm sure it is. Now you see, just taking off his goggles as we're under caution, we are under yellow is Tim Richmond in the 27 car. We are under caution. Now when they restart, they do not restart, and there's Harry Gant charging back out along with Richard Petty. Pretty good race there in the pit road.
Down pit road.
Harry
Gant
doesn't
still
want to
had
give
to
it
give
up
up on him.
They will restart the field coming out of turn 8 on the back straightaway. That long stretch gives them a chance to kind of get established and racing rather than this very tight first turn.
Well, this is the only place that the race starts on the back stretch.
There's Raymond Beadle, the Blue Max himself, twice World NHRA drag racing champion, who came in this year with a Grand National team, selected Richmond as his driver. And Raymond Beadle sure knows a lot about motors and a lot about cars. And he said the other day, I think I've spent about $600,000 as a loss this year, but I think I know how to do it next year.
Well, I'm sure he had a good lesson this year. It takes time to get established in this sport, but they've done a good job, Ken. That Tim Richmond and that 27 car, Tim Brewer and all the guys have really done a good job their first year out, and they're going to win some races next year.
Well, there you see them lined up, and as they're deployed, Waltrip is first, and you see Richmond now in second, Petty having made his pit stop. Ricky Rudd unofficially, and they have some debris on the track, the report is, and it's up here through the first turn area, and I believe they're going to pick a car up that's off at a precarious position just through the first turn, past our start-finish line area. Now you see the field coming down out of turn number 9, under caution, counting laps, of course, and I think we're going to see the leaders pit. Indeed, that's the case. Waltrip in, and here comes the Tim Richmond crew in. Everybody ready on pit road. Tim Richmond comes to a halt, and number 22, Allison, is staying on the track. Bobby Allison, remember, he had a couple of unscheduled stops. He's trying to get back into it.
Bobby Allison will lead this lap, Ken. That'll give him 5 points.
Well, if all the leaders are on pit road, and that means that if Allison is indeed the leader, he will pick up enough points, so all he needs is 15th or better. In the pit stop period, Bill Elliott, just before the caution came out, he overran the range of his Thunderbird, and he came in on an empty tank and fell back several spots. Now you're with Richmond again. He said he was going to make a race of it, and the last time he told me that, I believe we were together up in Pocono, Pennsylvania. He went out and won the darn thing. That was a wild slide up in 6. They have restructured. They talk about how serious turn 6 is, and indeed it is. It's a critical turn. It has taken the lives of some drivers, but they've rebuilt that turn, Cale, and right there, going into turn 6 is not the dangerous turn that it used to be when you first came out here.
Well, it's really not. It's a little bit better now, Ken, but later on in the race, that turn tends to get slicker and slicker, and the racetrack tears up just a little bit, and you get marbles up there, so they're going to have problems with turn 6 all day.
Now you see them coming out of turn 8 and down that back straightaway. Now you drive down that back straightaway, and it takes, seems like a minute. When you guys go down, it seems like 15 or about 5 seconds, and you're there. Here's a report from the STP Pit Center, Dave Despain.
All is well with the leader, Darrell Waltrip. He came here, he won the pole, he knew he had to win the race. Waltrip at this moment is doing everything that he has to do. They did make a 4-tire pit stop under green prior to this yellow flag. They have since been back in. Let's look at what's happening with some of the other cars. Ricky Rudd has an oil pump problem that's troubled him all week. A former winner here at Riverside is falling back into the field. Big story on Bobby Allison. He made his 2 early pit stops at lap 10 and 12, elected not to come in on this lap under yellow. He is the leader of the race. That gets him a 5-point bonus. He will have to make a pit stop probably within the next 10 to 15 laps unless he can get in under this yellow, having gotten his bonus, make his service, and in fact we understand that Bobby Allison is coming on pit road. Back to you, Ken.
Indeed he is. Here's Allison now. Did he lead the lap? Did he finish the lap in the lead? Allison came to the line, and we believe he picked up those 5 bonus points. And we're checking now with Robert Latford as to the status, and it is correct that he did lead a lap and got the 5 points, which would get him back to 15th. He took the lap. Now he's in right side tires, and we're getting ready to resume this race. Now he's fallen back behind everyone again.
Still go put him behind again, Ken.
Let's go to Jim Roller with a report. Come in, Jim Roller.
Raymond Beadle, Tim Richmond was running so well, had a slight problem. Did he give you any indication as to what happened? I think he just got a little loose coming. He just barely touched the wall down there, but we were fortunate when we come in earlier. We only changed 2 tires, so at least we got to take advantage of the yellow and change all 4. So I think we're in real good shape now. All right, Tim Richmond, little problem, but they feel it didn't hurt him too bad. Back to you, Ken.
Getting ready for a restart here. You're back inside Tim Richmond's car, number 21, Buddy Baker. No low gear in the box right now. Here we are, getting ready to go back under it another time as Richmond works that car over, and on the brake, there's Richard Petty and the rest of the field darting down the back straightaway. You see the pace car coming in, this very unusual start, and as they wheel down into the corner, it'll be Richard Petty, number 43, in the lead. Richard Petty, now remember, he's working on 199. So close to that incredible 200 mark. There's Harry Gant, number 33, right with him in the 2nd spot. Leaders all bunched up. It is the Terry Labonte car running in 3rd. That caution came out on lap 33. We're back under green, and you're back inside of the Skoal Bandit. Harry Gant in 2nd place. Harry Gant hanging on to Richard Petty as they race up into the S's, Cale.
Well, Harry Gant is looking right at Richard Petty, but don't you know Richard Petty would like to win this final race in his Petty Enterprises car?
Indeed he would. There is such pressure on these leaders. Let's check for you. Buddy Baker is way off the pace. He's almost half a lap down now. And as we mentioned, he has a problem in the gearbox. There's Petty in 1st. Whipping down, coming over to turn 8. That looks like Roy Smith from number 74, the Canadian driver, just in front of him, twice Western champion. Petty 1st. There's Gant right there in 2nd. Then
gets
comes
a little out of shape.
There comes Labonte running in 3rd, and Benny Parsons in 4th, and Roy Smith is slowing down on the inside and waving them off.
Ken, if Buddy Baker and that Valvoline Ford's got gear problems this early, he's got a long day ahead of him.
Oh my. This will be like a 24-hour marathon for him. Here they are, back to turn 9. Look at Petty.
It stretches them out.
Into turn 9. Richard Petty 1st. Gant in 2nd. Parsons in 3rd, and you're back inside Harry Gant's car. Right behind Gant, hanging on his rear bumper, is that car number 44 of Terry Labonte. Here they are back to the start-finish line, completing 37 this time by. We had 3 laps under caution. Petty 1st, Gant 2nd, Parsons 3rd, Labonte 4th, 5th is Earnhardt, 6 is Waltrip. 6 is Waltrip. 7 is that number 27 car. Well back in this hunt, car number 11. the Darrell Waltrip machine. It's Richard Petty in the lead position, Harry Gant in second. The Winston Western 500 to decide it all. And it is still Petty, after the caution period, leading the race.